nolosha cusub soo dhawee nolosha cusub soo dhawee nolosha cusub soo dhawee.
Welcome to Integration TV. In this 4-episode special, we travel to Somalia to explore our beautiful homeland and learn about the people who are working hard to rebuild our country. Join me, your host, Hodan Nalayeh, on this exciting journey as I meet the changemakers, dreamers, and lovers of life in Mogadishu. On today's show, we'll meet a motivational speaker who's rebuilding Somalia through the power of the mind. In our Let's Talk About It segment, professional women are returning, but are they accepted? And finally, our person of the week uses his passion for medicine to keep the heart of Somalia beating. This is Integration TV, the first English television for Somalis around the world. Integration TV in Somalia, brought to you by the government of Turkey, redefining humanitarian aid.
Integration.
Welcome back to Integration. As I said earlier in the show, I'm always looking for the new game changers in Somalia. And one of the most interesting things that I found is that there is something called Islamic life coaching. How interesting. There's a young man who's changing the lives and the minds of the youth in this country. His name is Brother Muhammad Dini. He's an Islamic motivational speaker and life coach. And he joins us as he will be taking us through the week in our Way of Life segments. Brother Muhammad Dini, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Hodan. Great to be here.
Now, this is very interesting. How does someone become an Islamic life coach? There's people like Tony Robbins, these iconic motivational speakers, but what differentiates you as an Islamic life coach?
Well, an Islamic life coach, that's the key term here, and that's basically you do Islamic learning, you preach, to try to empower people to become better Muslims towards Allah. You're basically inspiring them, you're motivating them, but the basis of all that you do is for the sake of Allah and to try to be better people towards Allah. So the main difference, I guess, between this and other motivational speakers and inspirational stuff is that the basis for this is spirituality, and the central unit of this is Allah and pleasing Allah.
It's fascinating that you travel from like Hargeisa, Borome, Las Anod to Getawe down to Hamar, and just instilling this positivity to young people. Are all Somalis the same across the country?
Yes, like I said, all of them want to become better. All of them have daily struggles. We do, you do, everyone does. Whether it's someone in Boroma, up there, or in Kismayo, all the way in the deep south. Young people are just about the same. They want to be able to go to school, finish school, get a job, support their family, get married, have a family, see all the bright things and the good things that life has to offer.
What inspired you to do this work?
Well, Allah, first of all. But I also come from a family of Islamic scholars. My father, some of my brothers. So I think that I'm kind of going by the footsteps of my father and his father and my older brothers. But I'm also here in Mogadishu. I would come here and do lectures every now and then for the past couple of years. And I thought I'd be better off, perhaps, for more widespread impact to be closer home and be here.
And you're seeing the difference?
I am, alhamdulillah, yes. For example, in the West, we have those annual conferences, we have seminars, we have workshops, we sometimes go out camping, take our young kids from the masjid and so forth. All that doesn't happen here. So here, it's you go to a masjid, you pray, salamu alaikum, you go home. So to try to be able to start that in Somalia, where there are annual conventions and conferences and Islamic workshops and spiritual trainings and things of that type, all these things are missing, and I think it would be very highly critical and profoundly important.
So this is really exciting. I just found out that you are bringing the very first book fair to the capital city of Somalia.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
We plan on, inshallah, 1st of August next year to hold the first, perhaps, don't quote me on this, first Mogadishu International Book Fair, where we would bring scholars and writers and authors and cultural icons from all across the world, the Somali-speaking areas of this region, the Middle East, North America, just everywhere to try to give life back to this city and its people.
I think when we're doing things like that, you're almost rebalancing the culture and the religion. And it seems like there's such a need and people are hungry for that in this society. And do you feel that?
I do. There's so much we share. And I think it's about time we celebrate the things that we share. And that common culture and heritage is a very important part of our being and our existence here in this region and all over the world.
That's amazing. I want to thank you for joining us today. I think it's inspiring what you do, changing the lives of young people through the mind, which is the most powerful tool that we have. And we hope to have you back every day of the week, inspire young people, and continue the conversation of what it takes to build a good person.
Alhamdulillah, I'm glad to be with you.
Thank you so much. This is Integration. We'll be right back right after these messages. Integration TV in Somalia, brought to you by the Government of Turkey, redefining humanitarian aid. Welcome back to Integration, where we're broadcasting live from Somalia in our Let's Talk About It segment today. Guess what, guys? There is so many positive things happening in this country, and I think one of the greatest things that we can talk about today is the role of women coming back into the country, and not just women, but actually professional working women who are coming back to contribute their skills. I have two panelists here with me today that will talk about the diaspora, women, and their return back to Somalia, and we'll also speak with one woman who's a local professional who's actually never left her country. Today I have with me Sagal Bihi, who is a constitutional affairs consultant in the Somali government, and also Anab Noor, who is a lawyer in human rights who came back to contribute to her country. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I know today's a work day, and I shaqada hamar ma bilawdato ilaa like 2 o'clock maybe, huh? What time are you guys shaqada bilawdaan?
Actually, I think on the contrary, it starts a little bit earlier than back in the UK or the US. But the only difference is you finish much earlier than back home.
Yeah, I'm amazed that people are up here like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Shops tend to open as early as 7 a.m.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
So Anab, let's start with you. You came back. You're a lawyer. You specialize in human rights. What are you doing here?
I ask myself that same question sometimes, but it feels like home. I think for me, I made the decision out of the blue one day to relocate. My intention initially was to relocate somewhere within East Africa, close to home, but I think at the time I was a little bit scared to come. And around November 2012, I decided to finally make the trip back home, and that was for the first time in 25 years. Not that I remember much when I left, but it was my first time back, and it came as a shock because you have all these like different ideas about what you think home is like, and then you get here and there's so much life on the streets and people are getting on with their lives. I think it came as a huge shock to me. So after that I thought, you know, why not? I could work in Somalia, and that was the intention by moving to East Africa anyway. So here I am, 2 years later.
So you specialize in law.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of human rights violations in this country when it comes to the role of women. How do you think you can contribute to that side?
You're right. I mean, unfortunately, there are a lot of human rights issues in this country. But I think for me, coming here initially, I realized that for a long time I had a very Eurocentric view about things. And I had to sort of step back and decide, okay, you've got to find a way of dealing with this that's appropriate in the context that you are at the moment. So for me, I think the idea is to set up a law center, and I would like to specifically focus on human rights violations and human rights issue. I've always believed in having a fair and equal access to the law and to the justice system, and I would like to be able to provide free legal services to those that can't afford it.
Oh, that's amazing. So Sagal, you've never left, girl. You're here. What do you think about all these women coming back and like taking charge in this country?
Actually, I think this country needs every help it could get, whether it's its own people or Somalis coming from diaspora, male and female. And sometimes I believe we need beyond that. We need every help we could get.
What do you think is the challenge that you face as a professional working woman in Hamar?
To be honest, in Somalia in general, being women is a challenge itself, because we had and still have strong women who really are very opinionated and who can make things done. But still, people will, when it comes to the professional level, that's when you get always commented at, and people will tell you, you're women, why are you doing this, and very small things. You will always get that eye of you're women, you shouldn't be here, like you should be disassociate from your like colleagues, partners, whoever you're working with, which is male.
How do you work along that frame, like when somebody says things like that to you? Do you challenge them, or do you just ignore it as a woman in this country?
Both. Sometimes you have to tell them. You feel like there is occasions that you feel you have to speak up, and there are occasions that you feel, I'm not going to talk to you, but I will be here, and you have to deal with me.
So take your space over.
Exactly. You don't go back. You don't step back. You step forward, and you try to push it harder. And just because of that, you feel a few years ago, role of woman was not, where it is right now. At least the noise. Not it cannot practically. It might not be the way we want it, and we don't participate the way we want it. But at least the noise and the notion is a little bit higher, and there are a lot of voices. And one thing that I really like, my friends from diaspora, like female young from diaspora, they have, like, they come from a background where there is a human rights, where there is a gender equality to a certain level, and they have always something that they fight. Because we locals, like most of us, we've been here, we've been last 25 years like told, you're women, you don't do that, you don't, you have to cover up.
So do you think that women have kind of accepted that role because they've been defined by
back
them?
in our heads, we
because
feel
it's
like
very unusual for you to be dressed like this,
exactly,
looking like a working professional woman, and going to an office right in the city, right? Because when I drive around, that's not the norm, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You like every day, women, like local women, sometimes tell me, why don't you dress differently?
Really?
Yeah, it happens. Because back of our heads, we accepted our role of like always backstage. Always, you don't like... بدل ما فريسين كرتين شاه لما عبي شاه لما كلا بعبي كرتين ماشي صوفا ديال فريسين كرتين. You can talk to men in a head to head. You have to always be behind him. You have to which is not the case. We're professionals. We have something to do, and men always will tell you about shot. When it comes, like, when the argument gets very and you're talking about something very practical, very professional. Yeah. You're in office meeting and you try to take your role, and the last card they will use is your women.
These challenges, women in the West also face it. There's always a glass ceiling everywhere you go.
Exactly, except they have somehow a system that they can turn to.
Accountability.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't have that here.
I think if I could just add to that, I think the difference is in the West, it's not as obvious as it's here. Here you're undermined on quite a regular basis, and a way of doing that is a lot of female characteristics come up as a result, and people say, or you'll sit in a room and then people will make a comment about your looks, and they will feel entitled to do that. It's very unprofessional. I think here it's you won't always get invited to the big meetings. You won't always be informed about it.
Okay, so there's a private, like, VIP parties that women don't even get invited to here.
Yeah, I think the culture is it's changing now, but it's in such a way where like I can give you an example in the UK. A lot of business talk tend to happen in places like the pub, whereas here it's men tend to take these conversations certain hours of the night when you probably don't feel safe enough.
So meesha chat baa la soo cunaya, so dumarkii lama invite garanaya. Okay, let's keep it real.
But I also see a lot.
But isn't that the
change
same?
it.
Okay, let's be fair. Isn't that the same thing that women complain about in the West, where men go golfing together and the women that want to climb the ladder don't get invited? So these challenges are not unique just to our country, right?
No, they're not. And I agree with you, they're definitely not unique to...
Join us next week as we continue our conversation with Anab Noor and Sagal Bihi on the challenges diaspora women face coming back to Somalia.
Oh my God, I'm about to go get my bikini, guys, because what is this abaya I'm wearing right here on the beach? Look at this, I'm flying.
Refusing to leave Somalia after the civil war, our person of the week says his heart belongs to his country as he dedicates his life to treating the ill and forgotten. I sit down with Dr. Abdikarim Asr to discuss the important work he's been doing and his efforts to make healthcare accessible for all Somalis.
I've been graduated from Somali National University in 1980. And the first work I did was I used to work in a hospital first time, and then I went to work outside of Mogadishu. I used to work in many different areas. I worked in Gather region. I worked also, in Bayan Bokol. I worked also in Somalia. I worked in Hargeisa, different areas in Somalia. I remember that during my age, before the civil war took place, there was a lot of things available. We had some industries, our military was very strong, there was a security, and there was everything. But the civil war has destroyed everything. This basic services is not there. As you know that Mogadishu now, during 2011, there was a drought, and a lot of people came into Mogadishu, and most of them were having, health problems. I remember that there was also a measles, outbreak in Mogadishu, and we have carried, different kinds of measles campaign, vaccinations, and so on. The reason I'm here, what I'm doing right now, is that I'm just trying to revitalize, working with different agencies and looking the way forward to provide some basic health services for these communities. Well, that's why I always, keep myself behind. I always want to stay in Mogadishu, Somalia. So I hope Somalia to be, the same countries that it was before. Things are shaping up, and I hope that the future, not long, but things will get better.
Join us next week as we continue our trip to Hamar Adey. We'll cruise through the streets of Hamarweyne and pamper a young Somali mother for the day. Catch us next week, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest episodes. This is Integration TV, the first English television for Somalis around the world.